Kasi daw, ano ba ginawa?
Recording in
God.
progress.
Sabi niya, ano yung babae?
Ganyan. Sasabi ko, Gilbert. Ano ba? Jose?
Oh, you're right. Oh, how was it?
Happy ka naman, bro. Dahil ako
Hindi na kayo loko.
Ate Christine, sabi ko, ano,
I
nagkita
know,
kaming
happy
DJ,
Women's
para kaming long
Month,
lost
of
mother
course.
and son, na nagyapos pa kami talaga. Ay,
Ako eh.
That's most important.
Akala hindi ko mag-turn out or ni. Wala?
The eyelashes.
Ma'am. Sa gitna kayo. Sa gitna si ma'am, sa gitna. Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, dito kayo sa kabila, ma'am. Sa kabila po. Yan, para pantay po. Yan. Ready? Ready, 1, 2. One more. Ready, 1, 2. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Ay, ma'am. Ako din.
Yes po.
Ma'am, can I have our photo taken?
Gusto ko rin dyan.
Sa akin naman po. Kong. Kong. Ano Mark? Kamusta? Ilan tayo? Dora.
Good afternoon. Pursuant to Section 15H, Rule 4 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Speaker Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez has designated the following House members to preside successively over today's session. Rep. Yeda Marie K. Romualdez of Tingog Party List, Representative Linabel Ruth R. Villarica of the 4th District of Bulacan, Rep. Florida Rida P. Robes of the Lone District of San Jose del Monte City, Representative Rosana Ria V. Vergara of the 3rd District of Nueva Ecija, Representative Lorna C. Silverio of the 3rd District of Bulacan, Representative Ana York P. Bondoc of the 4th District of Pampanga, Representative Maria Lucille L. Nava, MD of the Lone District of Guimaras, Representative Ruth Mariana Hernandez of the 2nd District of Laguna, Representative Midi N. Cua of the Lone District of Quirino, Representative Isabel Maria J. Zamora of the Lone District of San Juan City, Representative Margarita Attorney Migs B. Nograles of PBA Party List.
The session is called to order. Please rise for the singing of the national anthem.
Noon pa man, malaki na ang naging bahagi ng mga kababaihan sa lipunang Pilipino. Kaisa sila sa marubdob na paghahangad ng kalayaan ng ating lahi. Kabilang sila sa paglinang ng ating makulay na sining at mayamang kultura. Kasapi sila sa pagtataguyod ng mga adhikain ng kapwa mamamayan at sa pagtugon sa mga pangangailangan ng lipunan. Katuwang sila sa pagtuklas sa mga larangan ng agham at medisina. Kapanalig sila sa pagpapairal ng batas, karapatan at katarungan para sa lahat. Kabahagi sila sa paglilingkod sa bayan at sa pagpapanatili ng demokrasyang Pilipino. Sa paglipas ng panahon, hindi nagmaliw ang kanilang pag-ibig sa ating inang bayan. Mga kababayan, ito ang alay ng mga kababaihang Pilipino para sa bayan. Tumayo po tayong lahat at sabay-sabay nating awitin ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, harap ng puso, sa dilim mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tulad ka ng magiging, sa manluluki, di ka masisingil, sa lahat ng tulog, sa silang at sa langit o bahang, may nilagang tula at awit sa kagayang minamahal. Ang isang ng wakawat mo'y talumpay na nagiging, ang ituwing at araw ng kailan pa may madilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pagsita, huwag nangis sa piling mo. Ang higala na pag may magkakapit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for the invocation to be delivered by Honorable Maria Victoria Copilar, representative of the 6th District of Quezon City.
I invite everyone to bow our heads and immerse ourselves in the presence of the Almighty. In the Father, of the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, Creator of heaven and earth, the one who gives us guidance, the one whom all our mandates and powers emanates from our one true leader. As we celebrate the long history of women power in this country, as we honor the fortitude and virtues of womanhood today, we humbly kneel before you. We call upon you to make use of us today and grant us minds of peace, wisdom, and strength. Guide us as we fulfill your mandate as lawmakers. Speak through us as we embrace and set forth the interests of our people. Bless us as we fulfill our duties in this hallowed chamber. We pray that you be with each mother and sister today. Remind us that you have created us for a purpose. From the ribs of Adam, you have given us the purpose to love with favor, to care with grace, to be the light of our families and lights of our communities. Be with us as we celebrate womanhood today. This we ask through the almighty name of our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Sit down. My dear colleagues, guests, and friends, it is an honor to be present today with fellow women who work tirelessly to make the Philippines a better place for our countrymen. Women are powerful agents of change, and the advancement of women in the society including increased leadership and decision-making roles, is a positive indicator of progress for all of us. Today, different facets of society are becoming more aware of the significant benefits of gender balance and diversity, recognizing that societies thrive where women are given equal opportunities and respect. All throughout the world, women have been shattering glass ceilings and laying down a path for other women to walk on. From fighting for a right to suffrage to now being able to lead nations and influence economies, women have become trailblazers and powerful figures in our own fields of specialization, and the world can no longer deny us of a rightful place in society's leadership. Today, in line with our celebration of all womanhood this National Women's Month, I welcome you all in this year's all-women session here in Congress. May this simple gesture of handing over power to the women be the platform for the positive change as we continue to lead our nation to a kinder and gentle world for the next generation of women. Ako ay Pilipina at mahal ko ang Pilipinas. Maraming salamat.
Madam Speaker, I move that we call the roll of members.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. Honorable Representatives Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Ako, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Ataide, Omentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascu, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Bilyones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bungalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulot Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jean, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizaldi, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Jaime, Ko Juanco Mark, Colada, Colliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Dagoo, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Udela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Co-Wilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Legarda, Libanan, Lim Kaichong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Maniquis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marinho, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Uwaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Remulla, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramonjolo, Reyes, Rilio, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suwan, Suwansing Horacio, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yamsuan, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, Yu Divina Grace, Yu Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Madam Speaker, the roll call shows that 310 members responded to the call.
With 310 members responding to the call, the chair declares the presence of a quorum.
Madam Speaker, considering that copies of journal numbers 60, 61, and 62 dated March 6, 7, and 8, 2023, respectively, were already distributed to the members, I move that we dispense with the reading of the same and approve the journals.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Journal number 60 dated March 6, 2023, journal number 61 dated March 7, 2023, and journal number 62 dated March 8, 2023 is hereby approved. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we suspend the session for a few minutes.
Session is suspended.
The session is resumed.
Madam
Majority
Speaker,
Leader?
Madam Speaker, I move that we now proceed with the reference of business and direct the Secretary General to read the titles of bills and resolutions, as well as communications and committee reports.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the titles of bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as the communications and committee reports for referral to the appropriate committees.
Reference of business bills on first reading, House Bill 7480, providing for the modernization of the Philbox by Representative Romualdo.
To the Committee on Science and Technology.
House Bill 7481, amending the revised Non-Stock Savings and Loan Association Act of 1997 by Representative Salo.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 7482, declaring that Tarangban Falls in Tinaplacan, Calbayog, Samar an ecotourism site by Representative Tan Stephen James.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 7483, establishing Malahog Ridge to Reef Adventure Trail in Calbayog, Samar an ecotourism site by Representative Tan Stephen James.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 7484, declaring Pinipsacan Falls located in Barangays Blanca, Aurora, Tomogbong, Kalundan in San Jorge, Samar an ecotourism site by Representative Tan Stephen James.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 7485, increasing the excise tax on sugar-sweetened beverages by Representative Reyes.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 7486, promoting the development of local minerals processing and value-adding by Representative Reyes.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill 7487, graduating the senior citizen discounts available to senior citizens by Representative Ordanes.
To the Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 7488, increasing the death benefit assistance given to the family and/or relatives of a deceased senior citizen to a minimum of 25,000 pesos by Representative Ordanes.
To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 7489, exempting senior citizens and persons with disabilities from payment of travel tax and terminal fees by Representative Ordanes.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 7490, establishing and institutionalizing long-term care for senior citizens by Representative Ordanes.
To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 7491, institutionalizing the exemption of senior citizens and persons with disabilities from the Unified Vehicular Volume Reduction Program by Representative Ordanes.
To the Special Committee on Senior Citizens.
House Bill 7492, creating one additional branch of the Regional Trial Court in the 5th Judicial Region to be stationed in San Pascual, Burias Island, Masbate by Representatives Co. Ricardo and Co. Olga Ara.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 7493, institutionalizing the skills training program providing job opportunities to persons deprived of liberty by Representative Tan Keith Micah.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 7494, expanding the coverage of the tertiary education subsidy by Representative Tan Keith Micah.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 7495, institutionalizing the Barangay Integrated Development Approach for nutrition improvement of the rural poor as a linkage program for all state universities and colleges and community colleges by Representative Tan Keith Micah.
To the Committee on Rural Development.
House Bill 7496, strengthening the MTRCB, expanding its powers to regulate on-demand online streaming services by Representative Tan Keith Micah.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 7497, converting the junction Macar-Kiamba Road to junction Digos-Buayan Airport Road into a national road by Representative Acharon.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 7507, implementing stricter measures on the regulation and control of the manufacture, sale, and distribution of PNP uniforms, insignias, and accoutrements by Representative Castro Jane.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 7509, granting Victory Digital Broadcasting Inc. a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television throughout the Bicol region by Representative Yamsoan and Horibata.
To the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
House Bill 7510, right-sizing the national government to improve public service delivery by Representative Luistro.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization.
House Bill 7511, creating a sustainable fiscal framework for the pension system of the military and uniformed personnel by Representative Luistro.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security and the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 7512, increasing the monthly salary of all public elementary and secondary school teachers by Representative Luistro.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 7513, creating an additional division in the Court of Appeals to be stationed in the city of Baguio by Representative Go Mark.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 7514, establishing a district office of the LTO in Liloy, Zamboanga del Norte by Representative Amatong.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 7515, to prevent and control pollution from ships by Representative Benitez.
to the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 7516, establishing the Binalbagan Testa Training and Assessment Center in Binalbagan, Negros Occidental by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 7517, creating an additional court sala in the Regional Trial Court of Himamaylan City, Negros Occidental by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 7518, converting the provincial road situated in crossing Magallaon, Moises, Padilla, and Biak na Bato, La Castellana, both in the province of Negros Occidental, into a secondary national road by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 7519, establishing an audiovisual center in each public elementary and high schools by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 7520, establishing an anti-rabies center in each congressional district nationwide by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 7521, declaring Binadlan Falls situated in Biao, Binalbagan, Negros Occidental as an ecotourism site by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 7522, strengthening the utilization of information and communication technology in all public elementary schools and high schools by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 7523, creating a new regional trial court branch in the 6th Judicial Region to be stationed in Isabela, Negros Occidental by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 7524, providing free dormitories for students in state universities and college by Representative Yulo.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 7526, expanding the coverage of the National Feeding Program and instituting reforms by Representative Dayang Hirang.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 7527, ensuring gender responsiveness in naturalization laws by Representatives Lagman, Maceda, and Ataide.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 7530, providing for the Bill of Rights and Obligations of Taxpayers, creating the Office of the National Taxpayer Advocate by Representative Miguel.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 7531, declaring Mabanog Falls in Darapuay, Bansalan, Davao del Sur as an ecotourism site by Representative Cagas.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 7534, establishing the National Police Clearance System by Representative Legarda.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 7536, eliminating gender bias in adultery and concubinage by Representative Abalos.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 7537, establishing penalties for gender-based sexual harassment in the workplace and educational and training institutions by Representative Abalos.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 7538, to include all forms of violence defined in Republic Act 9262 as grounds for legal separation by Representative Abalos.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
Resolutions. House Resolution 838, urging the National Housing Authority to revoke the ownership of original beneficiaries of unoccupied and abandoned housing units and to rehabilitate and award the same to qualified beneficiaries by Representative Gintu.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Resolution 840, urging the LTFRB to postpone the planned phase-out of all traditional jeepneys by June 30, 2023 until concern on the financial viability of the program raised by affected operators and drivers are resolved by Representative Hernandez.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 841, expressing profound condolences and directing the appropriate committee of the House of Representatives to conduct an inquiry on the death of Adamson University student John Matthew Salilig as a result of alleged brutal hazing by Representative Hernandez.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution 842, directing the Committees on Ecology, Natural Resources, and Tourism to conduct an inquiry on the oil spill in Oriental Mindoro and nearby provinces by Representative Haresco.
to the Committee on Rules,
Communications. Letters from certain officials of the Commission on Audit furnishing the House of Representatives with copies of their financial audit reports and annual audit reports.
to the Committee on Public Accounts,
Letter dated February 13, 2023 of the OIC-NBI, DOJ is submitting to the House a copy of the report of the accomplishments and actions taken by the NBI relative to the investigation of the alleged hoarding and smuggling of onions and other agricultural products in the country.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
2016-22 Handbook of DOST Accomplishments.
To the Committee on Science and Technology.
The first 100 days, July 25 to November 1, 2022, of the Department of Finance and Bureau of Customs by the Commissioner.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Philippine Innovation Act Progress Report, October 2021 to September 2022 of the Pambansang Pangasiwan sa Kabuhayan at Pagpapaunlad.
To the Committee on Economic Affairs.
2023 People's Proposed Budget entitled Agenda for Prosperity, Economic Transformation Towards Inclusivity and Sustainability of the DBM.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
National Budget Call for Fiscal Year 2024 of the DBM.
To the Committee on Appropriations. 2022
PNP Annual Accomplishment Report.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
Committee reports. Committee report numbers 417 and 418 submitted by the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources and the Committee on Appropriations on House Bills number 7532 and 7533 respectively. Committee report number 419 submitted by the Special Committee on Senior Citizens and the Committee on Appropriations on House Bill 7535. Committee report numbers 420, 431, and 432 submitted by the Committee on Public Works and Highways and the Committee on Appropriations on House Bills numbers 7539, 1147, and 7553 respectively. Committee report number 421 submitted by the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and Committee on Ways and Means and the Committee on Appropriations on House Bill 7540. Committee reports number 422, 423 to 430, 433, and 434 submitted by the Committee on Tourism on House Bills number 7541, 7545, 7522, 7556, and 7557 respectively. Committee report number 435 submitted by the Committee on Energy on House Bill 7561. Committee report number 436 submitted by the Committee on Higher and Technical Education on House Bill 7564.
The aforementioned committee reports are all referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, we acknowledge the guest of Representative Lina Bell, Ruth Villarica, namely, from the City Government of Maykawayan, Bulacan. Please rise to be recognized when your name is called. Vice Mayor Josefina Joji Violago. Councilor Attorney Larissa Abracero San Diego, Councilor Ana Catherina Hernandez, and Councilor Roveline Cabigues.
Welcome to the House of Representatives.
From Maykawayan City Hall department heads and their employees, we have City Administrator Pia Ramirez de los Santos, Attorney Maridel Tambis Calamba, Ms. Josefina Jaslani, Ms. Encarnita Angeles, Ms. Cristina D.V. Pineda, Attorney Jacqueline Joy Pernites, Ms. Judith Guevara, Ms. Imelda Arguelles, Ms. Sheila Tamayo Sinson, Ms. Annabel Urbano, Ms. Ana Gloria de Castro, Ms. Agnes Ginaline Cayaban, Ms. Reneliza Santa Ana, and Ms. Catherine Abacan.
Please stand up to be recognized. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
And likewise, Madam Speaker, let us welcome the Soroptimis International of Maykawayan, Bulacan, headed by its President, Ms. Maria Teresa Avendano, and Vice President, Ms. Imelda Rodriguez.
Please stand up to be recognized. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Madam Speaker, may we also acknowledge the guests of Representative Maria Rene Ann Lourdes Matibag, namely, again, kindly rise when your name is called, the Lagunanais of San Pedro City, Province of Laguna, and ang samahan ng mga maaasahan na kababaihan, SMK, headed by SMK Advisor Barangay San Antonio Secretary Ms. Patricia Jaslani Jimenez, and SMK President Kapitana Maria Lourdes Orlain.
Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Madam Speaker, may we also acknowledge the guests of Representative Drixie May Cardema, namely, Hands Off Out Children, headed by Ms. Luisa Espina, the League of Parents of the Philippines, headed by Ms. Remedios Rosadio, Solidarity of Parents and Educators for Empowerment, Peace and Development, headed by Ms. Gemma Labsan, Yakap na Magulang, headed by Ms. Relisa Santos Lucena, and from the National Youth Commission, Chairman Ronald Cardema and his staff, Ms. Riolyn Namnama.
Welcome to the House of Representatives.
And finally, Madam Speaker, may we acknowledge the guest of Representative Isabel Maria Zamora, Honorable Councilor Franco Tanada Yam of San Juan City.
Welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we suspend the session for a few minutes.
The session is suspended.
The session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to our rules, today being a Monday, I move that we open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The privilege hour is hereby open. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Geraldine B. Roman of the 1st District of Bataan be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Roman is recognized.
Madam Speaker, fellow legislators, especially our women colleagues in the House of Representatives, in whose honor we recognize their invaluable contributions today, a pleasant good afternoon and a happy Women's Month. Under the auspices of the House leadership led by Speaker Martin Romualdez, the House Committee on Women and Gender Equality, chaired by yours truly, is privileged to take on the singular honor of jumpstarting a series of activities to celebrate Women's Month. Today and every day, we are very happy to honor the tremendous achievements of women, gender-diverse people, and those who identify as women, because we have made great progress in the direction of gender equality. However, we still need to move forward to empower women in all areas and in all facets of life. It is unfortunate that there are still many types and cases of harassment, prejudice, and inequalities towards women. Even with the more pronounced programs and projects aimed at empowering women and gender non-conforming people, we are still faced with a daunting task of really delivering on the promises of legislative enactments geared towards this end. Indeed, I must say that even while we may have scored victories in terms of passing laws for women, the challenge of breaking barriers towards gender equality is far from over. It is noteworthy that the fight for women's rights has evolved into a more expansive fight for gender justice, in that it now behooves that everyone, regardless of age, civil status, socioeconomic class, ethnicity, SOGSC, religious beliefs, etc., must respect and recognize the fundamental right of all human beings to live and to coexist with one another. And this recognition should not only remain in theory, but must be put into practice. Sa madaling salita, we must walk the talk. If we say that we respect the fundamental rights of others as lawmakers, we should promulgate laws to guarantee these rights. We should also not be selective in the granting of these rights with a fallacious belief that recognizing the rights of others will diminish our own rights. Nor should we believe that our constitutional rights are absolute. Wala hong absolute constitutional right, because our rights end where they begin to infringe on the rights of others. Even a right to religious freedom. Under this right, we can believe what we want to believe and practice our religion insofar as it is not abused in order to justify discrimination. To quote New York State Legislator Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, "It is sickening and tiring that the only time religious freedom is invoked is in the name of bigotry and discrimination." And as a woman of faith myself, I cannot fathom, I cannot understand how discriminating other people by depriving them of their basic right, just their basic right to work, to study, to receive services from the government, and to access commercial and public establishments without discrimination, how depriving these people of these basic rights can make anyone holier does not make sense to me. Para sa ating mga babae, ang mabuhay ng may kasiguruhan sa ating mga karapatan bilang babae ay isa sa mga pundasyon ng isang matatag na lipunan. Alam natin na kapag ang mga kababaihan at other minorities, as well as other marginalized sectors, ay hindi nakasabay sa iba, mahihirapan tayong makamtan ang pagkakapantay-pantay sa lipunan. And for that matter, kapag may ibang marginalized sectors sa lipunan, tulad ng disenfranchised farmers, fisherfolk, IPs, PWDs, the urban poor, informal workers, migrant workers, at iba pang mga marginalized sectors na hindi makasabay, our efforts towards an equitable society shall be in vain. Because the fight for gender equality cannot be solitary. It cannot be individualistic or self-serving alone. It has to be intersectional. It has to be inclusive and solidarious. Kailangan nakikiramay tayo sa ibang marginalized sectors in order to be complete. Now, given this lofty objective, the House of Representatives Committee on Women and Gender Equality will up the ante in terms of putting forward critical legislation that would afford the most marginalized sectors of society, gender nonconforming and gender diverse people, the protection that they also need. We must ensure that we will be able to pass laws that will at least mitigate, if not eliminate, discrimination in all of its forms. By God's grace, I am confident that a very sizable percentage of House members in Congress supporting our all-inclusive and non-discrimination initiatives. In support of this, we should accelerate our equality initiatives throughout 2023 and what remains of the 19th Congress. We need to develop ideas and continue the momentum for the future while strengthening partnerships with diverse groups of stakeholders, which is what the committee is doing now. We at the Committee of Women and Gender Equality are working with everyone to find innovative solutions to help women and gender diverse people unleash their human potential and become leaders, entrepreneurs, agents of change for a more resilient and inclusive development agenda for all of our people. Gender equality is one of the hallmarks of a progressive and just society. Unless we give everyone, not just men, but women and people from the LGBTQ+ community, equal opportunities to attain the best that is possible in life, the cycle of discrimination and gender-based violence shall continue to wreak havoc in our society. As we move forward in our quest for gender equality, we must first strive hard to eliminate discrimination. Walang lugar ang diskriminasyon dapat sa ating bansa. Women are strong when women unite together to fight for our shared causes, and we can achieve them now. Let us stop discrimination now. Let us make gender equality work for everyone, everywhere, in every corner of our country. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay ang mga kababaihan.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Roman be referred to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The speech of Representative Roman is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Milagros Aquino Magsaysay of the party list United Senior Citizens be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Aquino Magsaysay is recognized. Please proceed.
Grace and dignity. To my distinguished colleagues in the Association of Women Legislators Foundation Incorporated, to our dynamic and inspirational chairwoman, Representative Yeda Marie Romualdez, to our president, Representative Linabel Villarica, and to the chairperson of the Committee on Women and Gender, Representative Geraldine Roman, to our ates, manangs, inangs, titas, lolas, and fellow Filipinas, an engaging and empowering start to International Women's Month to all of you. As this 86-person strong legislative body signifies, our country is blessed with determined, resilient, and hardworking women who have played a significant role in building our nation. Our vibrant history has long realized the saying, the hand that rocks the cradle the cradle that is the hand that rules the world. But unlike the words of the poet William Ross Wallace, we have done this by being more than mothers, but also as warriors, nuns, nurses, community leaders, teachers, business mavens, public servants, and national leaders. The Filipina and the power she yields in bringing about the changes in her community and in solving the challenges of her society has proven to be limitless in responsibilities and rewards. So, it is with this understanding and in this spirit that I appeal to my fellow women lawmakers here today who have the same wisdom and compassion dedicated to serving the underrepresented to bring our attentions and affections in a group of people who have seen been largely overlooked by our society and those who face increasing odds and obstacles, the Filipino elderly women. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, people aged 60 years old, or what we consider as senior citizens, currently make up 9% or more than 10 million of the current household population. Among them, there are 11% more females than males. This is interesting to note since the Philippine male population beats the female numbers among all demographic except the elderly population. In fact, when it comes to life expectancy, we Filipinas top our male counterparts by a total of 6 years, as the average Filipino woman lives to be 74.7 years old. A long and fruitful life, one might say. However, one that entails plenty of hurdles. The latest poverty estimates place around 9.1%, or some 800,000 of our Filipino senior citizens, as poor. Due to the high dependency ratio of our population, meaning we have a larger percentage of young adults and children, older Filipinos tend to sacrifice their financial assets to care for younger family members, thereby not allowing them to save up for retirements and do not secure the financial means necessary to sustain an adequate quality of life. Many of our elderly women are often marginalized and excluded from economic opportunities. They've been stay-at-home mothers or were part of the informal economy and have not had the opportunity to build up their own careers or savings. Much of them have been widowed and left alone without any means of sustainable income. They rely on meager pensions and social security benefits that are barely enough to cover their basic needs, and yet still try their best to support other family members. Unfortunately, the pandemic has only worsened the situation, pushing many of them into extreme poverty. As a result, they may struggle to make ends meet and find themselves dependent on family members or government support, which develops a painful stigma that I am sure most elderly Filipina would wish to avoid: the burden of care. Speaking of the care burden, another issue that strongly affects elderly women is health care. As people age, their healthcare needs become more complex, requiring highly specialized medical attention and intervention. Elderly Filipino women often face health bouts related to chronic illnesses such as diabetes and hypertension, which can be particularly difficult to manage without formal access to adequate and sustainable health care. They cannot afford to pay for expensive medical treatments and are often forced to rely on traditional medicines, self-medication, or worse, struggle through their ailments with no medical intervention. Another issue that elderly Filipino women deeply face is isolation and loneliness. This can be due to several reasons, whether it is from being widowed, living alone, being geographically isolated from family and friends, or having no sense of purpose that is important for the continuity of life and productivity. This helps develop a certain feeling of disconnection or disenfranchisement from society, and this deep isolation can have a significant impact on mental health and well-being of our elderly Filipinas, leading to a growing case of depression and anxiety. Due to their social isolation, elderly women are also increasingly vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. We hear many cases of neglect, abandon, or physical abuse. Elderly women who face maltreatment from their own family members. With our growingly complex economy, they could also be targets of scams and other fraudulent activities that could prey on their vulnerability. And due to these seemingly impossible odds against our older women, I appeal to this room of strong, courageous, progressive females not to turn a blind eye to the challenges faced by our elderly Filipinas. It is our responsibility, not only as female lawmakers, but as future elderly Filipinas as well, to ensure that we institutionalize policies that would guarantee that these older women and our future elderly are cared for and provided with the support they need, and the respect, dignity, and care that they deserve. As a nation, we must stand together to ensure that they can age gracefully and with the foundations they need to live their golden years with wellness and security. For this, I am proposing these legislative solutions for your consideration and contribution. We can start by increasing their access to the social safety nets that our state can readily provide. Through the social pension provision of the RA 9994, some of our older Filipinos in poverty qualify for a basic monthly stipend of 500 pesos. If you factor in inflation and the impact of the global pandemic of our economy, our poor elderly population has expanded since, and the eligibility process, the benefit level, and scope may not be relevant to our current socio-economic climate. The United Senior Citizens Party List has long advocated for the passage of the Universal Social Pension Act that would provide a basic pension to not just a few, but to all Filipino senior citizens, as well as provide actuarial guidelines that will make the pension benefit better attuned to the economic fluctuations. This economic bedrock for millions of elderly have been adopted in Thailand since 2009 and has been vastly securing their elderly's health and wellness, as well as spurring their local communities' economies for over a decade. It has been a state investment that has proven to work in not only enhancing the economy of their nation's elderly, but as well as their older people's self-worth and collective dignity. Next, we need to start being serious about factoring in gerontology and geriatric health in our social healthcare infrastructure. In this topic, I humbly appeal to you, my fellow lawmakers, for your support on House Bill 7305, or the Comprehensive Philippine Center for Geriatric Health Act, which would aim to build on the existing framework of the Health and Productive Aging Program as mandated under the existing expanded Senior Citizens Acts of 2003 and 2010 into its own law, which would finance and found our country's first public health center for geriatric health and would be instrumental in the research and advancements in Filipino geriatric healthcare and wellness services, institutional policies, and local health guidelines. As we institutionalized highly specialized health centers and hospitals in the past, I believe that this is the right time to invest in the health of our aging population, as the expected increase in number of our older Filipinos in the future may place a strain on the Philippine healthcare system if we don't have the workforce and facilities to place that would properly assess and treat older patients starting now. Thirdly, I believe that we need to make our communities more engaging to our elderly population. By inspiring our citizens to view our elderly as a rich resource for experience and wisdom, we help them develop a sense of purpose and realize a life that is more substantial and instrumental. As an elderly in public service, I have long advocated the importance of incorporating the viewpoints and the needs of the elderly in public policies. As this is the only way to ensure that our statecraft remain sustainable and accessible for all. In this vein, I encourage more opportunities for public community engagements for our elderly, particularly in having our senior citizen community leaders as stakeholders in creating policy recommendations for the elderly, from the community, town, to the provincial level. I believe that in response to our aging population, it is imperative that we have elderly representation, the same way we reserve seats for our youth policymakers. I hope that when the time comes that I introduce this bill for greater elderly political engagement and participation, you, my dear colleagues, would offer your precious support and recommendations. And finally, to curb the rise of incidences in elderly crime and violence, may I humbly appeal for your support for the Anti-Elderly Senior Citizens Abuse Act, which recognizes all the kinds of possible abuse, including neglect, that plague our elderly and pursue corresponding penalties for each. The Act also institutionalizes the establishment of a protective committee for senior citizens in each barangay to ensure the greater protection and increased deterrent on elderly crimes at the community level. With this immense privilege and responsibility of addressing you today, I hope that we have collectively acknowledged the challenges that exist and continuously make our elderly Filipino women particularly vulnerable, and I hope that I have successfully appealed for your support in advocating for policies that would provide them better access to health and social protection programs, as well as an ensured basic income and greater community participation. And finally, I hope that I have inspired all of you to recognize the contributions that elderly Filipino women have made to society and to continue celebrating their wisdom and experience. By doing so, we help to reduce the stigma and discrimination that elderly women face and create a more inclusive and compassionate society for all. And I believe that it is all in our individual and collective power to aspire and endeavor for a future where all Filipinas age with grace and dignity. In conclusion, I leave with you a quote from the timeless beauty that is Audrey Hepburn. She said that the beauty of a woman is not in a facial mold, but true beauty in a woman is reflected in her soul. It is the caring that she lovingly gives, the passion that she knows, and the beauty of a woman with passing years only grows. I see all beautiful faces here today all with varying years and experience, but all united with the same heart. It is a heart that wills to make lives better despite society's ills, to ensure that our government not only has a strong mind, but also with a sympathy and sensitivity for its most vulnerable. I believe that there is only one reason why Filipino women tend to outlive its men, and it is because our compassion and our tireless action gives us more purpose to our years and adds more meaningful days to our lives. And all I can say is that how lucky we are that we get to have the same level of passion, action, and compassion, even when we get to that point of being a beautiful, elderly Filipina. To my fellow women legislators, both young and old, please accept my respect, love, appreciation, affinity, and unity with all of you. Happy Women's Day.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Aquino Magsaysay be referred to the Committee on Rules. So moved, Madam Chair.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. The speech of Representative Aquino Magsaysay is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Arlene D. Brosas of the party list Gabriela be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Brosas is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, Madam Speaker, pagbati sa ating presiding officer, Deputy Speaker Ria Vergara, it's good to see you there. Madam Speaker, kalagayan at paglaban ng manggagawang kababaihan sa Pilipinas ang aking speech. Madam Speaker, aking mga kapwa kinatawan sa kapulungang ito, isang palaban at makabayang pagbati sa inyong lahat. Noong Marso 8, ginunita ng buong mundo ang International Working Women's Day upang magbigay pugay sa mga kababaihang manggagawa na nangahas na kumilos at lumaban para sa kanilang karapatan para sa nakabubuhay na sahod at maayos na kalagayan sa paggawa. Ngunit mahigit 100 taon na ang lumipas, ganito pa rin ang panawagan ng kababaihan sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo, lalo na dito sa Pilipinas. Sa kasalukuyan, nananatiling sadsad ang sitwasyon ng mga manggagawang kababaihan. Simula pa lamang ng unang kwarto ng taon, tila nasa gitna ng delubyo ang ordinaryong Pilipino dahil sa nagtataasang presyo ng pagkain, langis, pamasahe, kuryente, tubig, kawalan ng nakabubuhay na sahod at buwanang sweldo sa buong bansa. Dumaraming walang trabaho, kawalan ng kabuhayan at sadsad na ekonomiya sa kabuuan. Maraming kababaihan ang nawalan ng trabaho at kabuhayan. Tinatayang nasa 2.2 milyon ang walang trabaho noong Disyembre 2022, kung saan 1.06 milyon ay kababaihan. Pasan-pasan pa ng kababaihan ang tumitinding krisis na siyang nagiging dahilan upang ang sektor ay mas maging vulnerable sa karahasan at pang-aabuso. Sa kabila ng mababang pasahod at masahol na kondisyon sa paggawa, walang magawa ang mahihirap kundi pumasok sa mababang kalidad ng trabaho, nananatiling kontraktwal at walang benepisyo. Makahanap man ng trabaho, vulnerable pa rin ang kababaihan sa abuso at eksploitasyon. Lalo't nagpapatuloy at mas tumitindi ang kontraktualisasyon para sa murang lakas paggawa. Ayon sa Integrated Survey on Labor and Employment 2019 to 2020, nasa 330,780 ang kababaihang hindi regular o non-regular na nasa empleyo ng kumpanyang may 20 manggagawa pataas. Iba-iba man ang katawagan, probationary workers, casual, contractual, project-based, seasonal, apprentices, learners. Sa esensya, lahat sila ay nasa fleksibleng paggawa. Pinakamalaki nito ay nasa empleyo ng malalaking kumpanya na may 200 o mahigit pa na manggagawa na naitala sa 249,611. Mas marami ring iniempleyong non-regular sa malalaking kumpanya. Halimbawa, sa kumpanya na may 200 o mahigit pang manggagawa, 15% ang non-regular workers, kumpara sa kumpanya na may 20 to 99 na manggagawa, kung saan nasa 11% ang non-regular workers. Madam Speaker, nakakagulat ang datos na ito, ngunit hindi pa nito nasasaklaw ang kabuang bilang ng kababaihang kontraktwal dahil sa bisa ng Department of Labor and Employment, Department Order 174. Maaaring maging regular ang mga manggagawa sa mga manpower agencies, kung kaya't hindi nito itinuturing na kontraktwal ang mga agency hired. Pero sa realidad, tulad ng iba pang kontraktwal, marami sa kanila ay napakababa ang sahod at walang benepisyo. Imbis na tiyakin ng gobyerno ang trabaho ng mayorya ng mga manggagawa, mas pinapaboran nito ang mga malalaking kumpanya na nag-eempleyo ng mga kontraktwal na manggagawa sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng mga tax incentives at pagpapababa ng buwis sa ilalim ng Create Law, kung saan pinababa pa ang corporate income tax mula 30% patungong 20 to 25%. May batas tayo para tiyakin ang kita sa mga malalaking kumpanya, pero walang matibay na sandigan ang mga manggagawa na magtitiyak ng seguridad sa trabaho at nakabubuhay na sahod. Dahil sa ganitong kalagayan, lumobo ang bilang ng kababaihang napipilitang pumasok sa impormal na paggawa. Ayon sa UN Women, mahigit 6.6 milyong kababaihan ang nasa informal na ekonomiya, na kung saan walang regulasyon kaya't mababa ang kita at halos walang proteksyon sa paggawa. Ayon naman sa Ibon Foundation, nasa 21.5 million ang kabuang bilang ng nasa informal na sektor noong nakaraang taon. At kabilang sa informal sector ay ang domestic workers, kagaya ng kasambahay na nasa 2.1 million, self-employed na nasa 13.4 million, at own account, family-operated farms or businesses na nasa 6 million, ngunit 4.4 million dito ay nabibilang sa unpaid family workers. Binubuo nito ang 43.2% o halos kalahati ng kabuang bilang ng nasa empleyo. Ang pag-usbong ng informal na paggawa ay bunga ng kakulangan ng disenteng trabaho at mababang pasahod sa ating bansa. Sa informal na trabaho, mas nagiging vulnerable ang kababaihan sa mga economic shocks dahil kalakhan ay walang social insurance at iba pang panlipunang proteksyon. Ayon sa Gender Gap Report noong 2022, mas mababa ng 50% ang sahod ng mga kababaihang manggagawa na nasa low-skilled occupations. Madam Speaker, bukod sa laganap na kontraktualisasyon at kawalan ng regular na trabaho, mas lalong nababaon sa krisis ang manggagawang kababaihan dahil sa napakababang sahod dito sa ating bansa. Sa lumipas na ilang dekada, walang signifikanteng pagtaas ng sahod. Sa katunayan, ang natatanging tumataas lamang ay ang presyo ng mga bilihin bunga ng mataas na tantos ng implasyon sa ating bansa. Nakapako sa itinakdang minimum na sahod ang natatanggap ng mga manggagawa, lalo na ng mga kontraktwal. Kung hindi man, mas mababa pa. Umabot sa 8.7% ang inflation rate noong Enero 2023. At naghudyat ito ng mas lalo pang pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin, utilidad at iba pang pampublikong serbisyo. Kaya naman, sa National Capital Region, NCR, na may 570 ang minimum wage, ang totoong halaga na lang nito ay katumbas na lamang ng 482 pesos. Sa BARM, kung saan nasa 341 pesos ang minimum na sahod, nasa 285 na lamang ang tunay na halaga nito. Sa Bicol, 273 pesos na lamang ang tunay na halaga ng minimum wage na 345 pesos. Sa kasalukuyan, nasa 1,161 kada araw ang kailangan ng isang pamilyang may 5 miyembro para mabuhay. So 1,161 pesos ang kailangan. Para sa may 5 miyembro, no? Para mabuhay, malayong-malayo ito sa 570 pesos na minimum wage sa National Capital Region pa lamang. Sa komunidad, sinasabi ng mga kananayan na kapag nabaryahan na ang 1,000, hindi na nila namamalayan at nauubos na agad ito dahil sa mahal ng mga bilihin. Madam Speaker, this representation cannot see the logic of having different or lower wages in regions wherein the prices of goods and services are much higher. Mas mababa ang sahod sa ibang rehiyon, pero mas mataas naman ang presyo ng mga bilihin. Ang malala pa rito, nararanasan ngayon ang pinakamalalang pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin sa loob ng 14 na taon. Ngunit, imbis na pakinggan ang hinaing ng mga manggagawa hinggil sa sahod at seguridad sa trabaho, pinalala pa ng gobyerno ang atake sa mga unyon at organisasyon ng mga manggagawa. Batay sa datos ng Bureau of Labor Relations ng DOLE sa unang kwarto ng 2022, mahigit 4.8 million o 10.6% lamang ang organisado o kabilang sa unyon o organisasyon, asosasyon o federasyon ng mga manggagawa. Napakaliit din ng bilang ng mga may existing na Collective Bargaining Agreement o CBA na nasa 0.79% lamang ng kabuuang bilang ng organisadong manggagawa. Napakahalaga ng papel ng mga unyon ng manggagawa sa maliliit sa paggigiit ng mas mataas na sahod at pagtiyak ng mga benepisyo. Ngunit pababa ng pababa ang bilang ng mga unyon sa ating bansa at mas bumaba rin ang partisipasyon ng mga kababaihang manggagawa dito. Mula 2004 hanggang 2020, papaliit ang bahagi ng kababaihang manggagawa na miyembro ng unyon mula 14.3% noong 2004 patungong 6.17% noong 2020. Laganap ang union busting sa ating bansa at naging instrumento ng gobyerno at mga malalaking kumpanya ang National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTF-ELCAC upang i-red tag at pigilan ang mga manggagawa na mag-organisa. Nakakabahala dahil terorismo na ang turing sa pag-uunyon. Ayon sa mga miyembro ng unyon sa Southern Tagalog, nakakaranas sila ng matinding red tagging at harassment dahil sa pagiging unionista. Pinupuntahan sila ng NTF-ELCAC sa kanilang mga bahay at pinipilit na mag-disaffiliate sa Kilusang Mayo 1, isang progresibong organisasyon ng mga manggagawa. Malinaw itong pagyurak sa karapatan ng mga manggagawa na mag-organisa at igiit ang kanilang karapatan na matagal na ipinagkait ng ating gobyerno. Ngunit sa kabila ng paghihirap ng nakararaming Pilipino, walang kibot ang Administrasyong Marcos Jr. sa hinaing ng mamamayan. Imbis na i-certify as urgent ang pagpasa ng mga makabuluhang batas sa pagtaas ng sahod at pagkakaroon ng seguridad sa trabaho, ginawa nitong prioridad ang pagpapasa ng mga anti-mamamayang polisiya tulad ng charter change o chacha. Habang niluluto ang chacha para busugin ang mga dayuhang mamumuhunan, kumukulo naman ang tiyan ng mahihirap. Muling iginigiit ng Gabriela Women's Party sa plenaryong ito na hindi sagot ang chacha sa mga suliranin ng ating bansa. Hindi sagot ang chacha sa nagtataasang presyo ng bilihin at utilidad. At lalong hindi sagot ang charter change sa kawalan ng trabaho at nakabubuhay na sahod para sa mga manggagawa. Dagdag sahod, hindi chacha ang panawagan ng manggagawat kababaihan. Madam Speaker, aking mga kapwa kinatawan, tungkulin natin na iangat ang kalagayan ng mga manggagawat kababaihan sa pamamagitan ng pagpasa ng mga panukalang batas na magdudulot ng signifikanteng aumento sa kanilang sahod at magsasaayos ng kanilang kalagayan sa mundo ng paggawa. Sa kabila ng tumitinding krisis, mas lalo ring titindi ang paglaban ng bawat manggagawa para sa kanilang karapatan. Sa pagdiriwang ng International Working Women's Day at National Women's Month, kaisa ang Gabriela Women's Party sa panawagan para sa nakabubuhay na sahod, seguridad sa trabaho at ligtas na paggawa. Mabuhay ang mga kababaihang manggagawa, mabuhay ang kababaihang Pilipino. Maraming salamat, Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Brosas be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The speech of Representative Brosas is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Drixie May Cardema of the party list Duterte Youth be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Cardema is recognized. Please proceed.
Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues in the 19th Congress, in behalf of more than 600,000 Filipinos who voted for the Duterte Youth Party list, I stand today on a matter of personal and collective privilege. Sa pagbibigay-pugay po ngayon ng ating Kongreso sa mga kababaihan ng bansa, isinama ko rin po ngayon sa plenaryo upang bigyang pugay natin ang matatapang na mga nanay at magulang na hinahanap ang kanilang mga anak na nirecruit ng mga makakaliwang grupo upang maging mga kasapi ng mga New People's Army. Narito po tinutulungan at inilalapit ng Duterte Youth Party List sa inyo ang grupong Hands Off Our Children, ang grupong League of Parents of the Philippines, ang grupong Solidarity of Parents and Educators for Empowerment, Peace and Development, at ang grupong Yakap ng Magulang. Sa lahat ng kongresista dito ngayon, sa mga House Secretariat members, mga taga-media at security ng Kongreso, at karamihan ng mga kababaihan dito na may anak at apo na, alam nyo ang journey, ang saya at ang hirap ng pagiging isang magulang. 9 na buwan mong papalakihin sa iyong sinapupunan at mananalangin na maayos mong maipanganak ang iyong anak. Pagpupuyatan mo ng todo, ang pagbantay sa iyong bagong silang na anak, babantayan mo sa lamok, sa sakit, at hindi mo ito iiwanan. Gagabayan mo hanggang makatayo, makapaglakad, at matutong magsalita. Paunti-unti, aarugain mo araw-araw habang iniisip mo kung paano rin kayo magtatrabaho, kikita, at uunlad sa buhay. Kada birthday ng anak mo, masayang nagdiriwang kayong buong pamilya. At nakikita nyo ang paglaki niya. Lahat ng letrato na sa album o nilalagay sa frame, simbolo ng pagmamahal mo. Ihahatid mo sa paaralan at lampas isang dekada mong babantayan sa elementary at high school upang mag-improve ang anak mo maging handa sa pagkokolehiyo. Tapos pagtungtong sa kolehiyo, may indoctrinate at marerecruit lamang ng mga kaliwang grupo para mamundok, lumayo sa piling ninyo ng mga nanay at tatay nila at hindi mo na uli malaman kung makikita mo pa or batay na ba sila. Gaano kasakit ang ganyang dinadanas ng mga nanay at magulang na kasama natin ngayon. Sila ay naririto ngayon upang humingi ng tulong sa atin at sa gobyerno. Hinahanap nila ang kanilang mga anak araw-araw. Gabi-gabi, ito'y sobrang sakit. Sa puso ng isang magulang, dumadaan ang birthday nila at ang mga Pasko, puro luha pa rin at hindi alam kung buhay pa o patay na ang kanilang mga anak. Sa ating pagbibigay-pugay sa mga kababaihang ngayong araw na ito, bigyan pugay natin ang mga nanay at magulang na matapang na hinaharap ang araw-araw paghahanap sa kanilang mga anak. Bigyan pugay natin sila na kanilang tapang at paglaban sa New People's Army at sa mga nag-recruit sa kanilang mga anak. Wala silang security, walang depensa. Ang meron lamang sila ay tapang labanan ang mga nag-recruit sa kanilang mga anak. Ang meron lamang sila ay puso ng isang nanay at magulang na bumabangon pa kada umaga para sa pag-asa na makita pa at kanilang iniluwal at pinalaking mga mahal na anak. Ito po, mula sa mga kasama nating nanay, panoorin po natin isang short 1-minute video.
Sa piling ni nanay, nais kong maulit ang awit ni inang mahal, awit ng pag-ibig habang ako'y nasa duyan. Sana'y di na't maliw ang dati kong araw nang munti pang bata sa piling ni nanay. Nais kong maulit ang awit ni inang mahal, awit ng pag-ibig habang ako'y nasa duyan.
Tapos sa Duterte Youth Party List at sa inyong mga kinatawan dito sa Kongreso, maraming salamat po sa mga nanay at magulang na ating bisita ngayon. Tutulungan po namin kayo dito sa Kongreso. Palakpakan po natin sila.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Cardema be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The speech of Representative Cardema is referred to the Committee on Rules.
Madam Speaker, we would like to recognize the visitors of Representative Franz Castro of ACT Teachers Party List. Please rise as your name is called. Ruby Bernardo, Divine Esteban, Nenet Delgaco, Erlinda Aquino, Nancy Calado, Rowena Peñalosa, Ofelia Tabacon, Helenet Ramirez, and Maria Concepcion Gara. Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Franz Castro of the party list ACT Teachers be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Castro is recognized.
Magandang araw, Madam Speaker, sa mga kapwa ko kinatawan at sa ating mga kababayan. Noong nakaraang 8 ng Marso ay pinagdiwang natin ang pandaigdigang araw ng mga kababaihan. Pagpupugay din sa ating bisitang mga public school teachers mula sa Alliance of Concerned Teachers National Capital Region Union. Sa araw na ito, kinikilala natin ang lahat ng mga kababaihan sa buong mundo, lalo na ang mga nanay, mga natay, mga ate, mga mamshi at beshi, at lahat ng Pilipinang araw-araw na kumakayod sa loob at labas ng bahay. Ang komemorasyon ng Marso 8 ay hindi lamang sa mga kababaihan. Para rin ito sa sinuman, anuman ang kasarian, na naniniwalang tangan ng kababaihan ang kalahati ng kalangitan at nakikipaglaban para isulong ang lipunang kinikilala ang katotohanang ito. Inuugat ng mga historiador ang kasaysayan ng pandaigdigang araw ng mga kababaihan sa malalaking demonstrasyon ng kababaihan sa iba't ibang bansa upang itulak ang disenteng pasahod at karampatang benepisyo, maayos na mga kondisyon sa paggawa, mga karapatang sibil, gaya ng karapatang bumoto at iba pa. Ang International Women's Day o natatanging araw upang patingkarin ang mga kausang ito ay unang formal na sinagawa noong Marso 19, 1911 at higit 1 milyon ang lumabas sa mga protesta sa mga lansangan sa iba't ibang bansa. Noong Marso 8, 1917, pinuno ng mga kababaihang manggagawa ang lungsod ng Petrograd, Russia, sa isang higanteng protesta para sa tinapay at kapayapaan. Mga panawagang tapusin na ang World War I at aksyonan ng gobyerno ang masidhing krisis sa pagkain at kahirapan. Ang 1917 International Women's Day ay kinalala simula noong bilang isang nagsindi ng mitsa upang mapaalis ang tsaristang pamahalaan at simulan ang Russian Revolution. Simula ng 1945, naging International Women's Day ang termino para sa araw, bagamat markado pa rin ito ng mga malalaking pagkilos. Hanggang sa kasalukuyan, ang laban para sa tinapay at kapayapaan ay buhay na buhay pa rin. Ito ay dahil sa kasamaang palad na naririto pa rin ang mga kondisyon, mapang-api at nagpapahirap sa mga kababaihan. Alam naman po natin na karamihan sa mga guro ay kababaihan. Kung kaya, nais ko po sa kanila na lumaban para sa disente at nakabubuhay na sahod. Para sa mga guro at kawani ng edukasyon, para sa malayang unionismo, para sa benepisyo at iba pang mga karapatan. Doble ang katayuan ng mga babaeng guro bilang mga tagahubog ng kabataan at kabahagi sa pagbubuo ng bansa. Kinikilala natin ang malaking papel nila sa paaralan at ang walang sawang pagtuturo sa kabila ng kakulangan ng sahod, labis-labis na trabaho at kawalan ng sapat na suporta sa kanilang propesyon at sektor. Lagpas pa sa mga suliraning ito ang pag-atake ng mga ahente ng Estado sa kanila at ang kanilang mga unyon at organisasyon. Ayon nga sa datos ng ACT-NCR Union, 92% ng mga guro ay kumikita ng mas mababa pa kaysa nakakabuhay na sahod. Marami sa kanila ay breadwinner ng pamilya at madalas ay may utang pa upang makaraos lamang sa araw-araw na mga gastusin at mataas na bilihin. Idagdag pa ang matinding inflasyon na nararanasan ngayon, dahilan upang mas lalo po silang maghigpit ng sinturon at kumapit sa loan sharks. Ang teacher na may lisensyang profesional at dumaan sa mahaba at teknikal na pagsasanay, mas mababa pa ang kinikita kaysa sa ibang tao, kabilang nga na nasa trabahong mas mababa pa ang kwalifikasyon. Ito pa rin ang panawagan ng mga guro, Madam Speaker. Kailangan na ang pinakakagyat na panahon ang magkaroon ng dagdag sahod dahil hindi na ito nakasasapat sa tindi ng inflation at crisis. At para sa pandemic period, na utang ng pamahalaan sa kanila. Maglaan din dapat ng sapat na pondo upang mabayaran na ang 77 days overtime pay ng mga guro noong pang 2020. Ibigay na ang delayed na 2021 performance-based bonus o yung tinatawag nilang PBB. Pati na rin ang 5,000 na kulang sa Service Recognition Incentive Pay at Christmas Rice Allowance. Dagdag dito ang particular nilang hinaing. Sa atin dito sa Kongreso, isa batas na dapat ang iba't ibang mga panukala natin, particular ng ACT teachers at makabayan, ukol sa benepisyo at karapatan na nakabinbin ngayon dito sa ating Kongreso. Kabilang dito yung panukalang Public Labor Sector Relations Act, Human Rights Defenders Protection Act, at iba pang mga resolusyon upang sa paglabag sa kanilang karapatan at buhay at seguridad. Biktima rin ng ating mga kaguruan ng lumalalang atake ng Estado sa mga unyon, sa academic freedom, at patuloy na red tagging. Ang pinakabagong biktima ng pasismo ng Estado ay isang babae, unionista at coordinator ng ACT Region 7 na si Dayan Gumanaw. Siya ay dinukot at sapilitang winala ng 5 araw ng mga hinahinalang pulis sa Cebu City. Kasama rin sa mga palabang babae na sinampahan ng gawa-gawang kaso si Profesor Lani Flores ng Universidad ng Pilipinas at ang dating presidente ng ACT Region 10 na si Ma'am Ofelia Tabacon. Narito po siya kasama natin ngayon. Bagaman noong December 2021 ay dinismiss ang gawa-gawang kaso laban sa kanya, kinaharap pa rin niya ang matinding red tagging at banta ng kanyang buhay at napilitan siyang mag-resign bilang guro dahil sa mga atake laban sa kanya at sa kanyang unyon. Marami pang reports, Madam Speaker, ng mga karahasan, pananakot, surveillance at red tagging sa mga kaguruan. At hanggang sa ngayon, walang napapanagot sa malawakang paglabag ng PNP na ginawa pa hanggang sa ngayon na illegal na profiling simula pa noong huling bahagi ng 2018. Madam Speaker, bilang pagtatapos, nais ko pong iparating na patuloy tayong titindig laban sa pang-aapi, diskriminasyon at di makataong buhay. Patuloy tayong lalaban para sa karapatan ng bawat nanay, natay, ate, mamshi, beshi, at lahat ng mga Pilipina dahil ito ang mandato sa atin ng ating konstitusyon at ng international laws. Nasa susing posisyon tayo ngayon, Madam Speaker, at mga kapwa ko mambabatas upang tugunan ang mga hinaing ng mga kababaihang guro, education sector personnel, at 10 ng sambayanang Pilipino. Mabuhay ang mga kababaihan, lalo na yung mga walang sawang lumalaban para sa bayan at sa kanilang mga karapatan sa kabila ng tahasang atake at pasismo. Mabuhay ang mga kababaihan. Happy Women's Day. Maraming salamat, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I move
Majority
that
Leader.
Representative Castro be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The speech of Representative Castro is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, before we proceed to the next speech, We request that the privilege hour be extended for another hour.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The privilege hour is extended.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Marie Bernadette G. Escudero of the 1st District of Sorsogon be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Escudero is recognized.
It is with great concern that I stand before you today to speak about a grave issue that has been plaguing the Philippines for far too long: the online sexual exploitation of women and children. Research reveals the Philippines has been identified as the global epicenter of the live stream sexual abuse trade as early as 2016, and this has only worsened by 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic struck as families resort to easy money due to worsening poverty. According to a report by UNICEF, at least 2 million Filipino children aged 12 to 17 were victims of online sexual abuse in 2021. Fatima Singhate, the UN Special Reporter on the sale and sexual exploitation of children, also reported that there is a lack of trained child protection officials at the barangay level and trained child protection prosecutors in the justice system. Although the recently enacted Anti-Online Sexual Abuse and Exploitation of Children Act, Republic Act number 11930, is commendable, it appears that there is still a great deal of work to be done to address this issue. The sexual exploitation of women and children is a violation of human rights. It is an issue that has been prevalent in the Philippines for decades, with many victims being subjected to sexual abuse, commercial sexual exploitation, and human trafficking. The reasons behind this issue are complex, but they include poverty, gender inequality, and lack of access to education and healthcare. Many victims come from impoverished communities, and they are often lured into the sex trade with false promises of work or education. We cannot ignore this reality. As a society, we must address the underlying causes of sexual exploitation and put an end to it for good. We need to provide support to the victims, raise awareness, and hold those who perpetrate these crimes accountable for their actions. We must also work towards changing the cultural norms that contribute to this issue. We need to promote gender equality, education, and provide access to healthcare to ensure that every individual, regardless of their gender, has the opportunity to lead a life free from exploitation. It is essential to provide a safe and supportive environment for victims of sexual exploitation. We need to invest in shelters, counseling services, and legal aid to support the victims and help them rebuild their lives. We must work to ensure that the victims are not re-victimized by the justice system and that they receive the support they need to heal and recover. We must also work towards empowering women and children to prevent sexual exploitation from happening in the first place. We must provide education and resources that enable them to recognize the signs of exploitation and empower them to protect themselves and their communities from these crimes. As women legislators, we must stand together and speak out against sexual exploitation. We must break the silence that surrounds this issue and demand change. Every child, woman, and person, regardless of gender, must be treated with respect and dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, let us work together to create a safer environment for our children, for women, and for every Filipino. Thank you and happy Women's Month to everyone.
Majority Leader. Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Escudero be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The speech of Representative Escudero is referred to the Committee on Rules.
Madam
Majority
Speaker,
Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Lani Mercado Revilla of the 2nd District of Cavite be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Honorable Mercado Revilla is recognized.
Madam Speaker, fellow lady legislators, and mga kabaro natin at katuwang sa pagbibigay ng serbisyo pampubliko, mga kapwa ko Pilipinas saan mang dako ng mundo, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat at Happy Women's Month. On August 14, 2009, then President, now Senior Deputy Speaker, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, signed into law Republic Act 9710, or the Magna Carta of Women. It was a landmark legislation which empowered women by recognizing, promoting, and protecting their rights. The law also sought to eliminate gender-based discrimination and violence. More than a decade hence, what have we achieved? While the Philippines ranked 19th out of the 146 countries in the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Index, female labor force participation rate was at 39.33% in 2021, a slow uptick from the consistent rate of 39% in the past decade. This is unfortunate, an increasing women's labor supply by just 0.5 percentage points annually would increase gross domestic product per capita by about 6% by 2040 and 10% by 2050. This is according to a World Bank study. In overcoming the barriers to women's economic empowerment in the Philippines, the World Bank report identified several barriers to women's active participation in nation building. Women are primarily employed in low-skill positions. Women earn less in these low-skill positions. Women are the primary parents, and women are primarily responsible for hearth and home. As distinguished members of this august body, I propose that we legislate, advance, nurture, and innovate so that our sisters may be free to pursue their career aspirations and help in the growth, development, and progress in our nation. Legislate. As legislators, let us revisit Republic Act 9710 and update the same. Section 11 on participation and representation still reads, the state shall undertake temporary special measures to accelerate the participation and equitable representation of women. Perhaps it is time for the word temporary to be replaced or omitted, making the Magna Carta of Women in tune with the present. Our laws must be proactive. Stagnation breeds missed opportunities. Advance. May karangalan sa bawat trabaho, mababa o mataas man ang posisyon. Bawat isa sa atin ay may bahagi, maliit man o malaki, sa pagpapanday ng isang matatag at nagkakaisang republika. Ngunit kung nais nating pagandahin ang antas ng kabuhayan ng ating mga kabaro, kailangan nating palinangin ang kanilang mga kasanayan. Dito papasok ang kahalagahan ng Gender and Development Programs, ang GAD. Taon-taon, nasa 5% ng budget ng ating mga ahensya, pati na ng mga barangay ang nakalaan dito. Madalas ang mga seminars ang ginagawa dito, ngunit napapanahon na palawakin ang GAD at gawing mas kapaki-pakinabang ang mga proyekto tulad ng mga skills enhancement training para sa kababaihan at pamamahagi ng seed capital sa women enterprises. Paramihin ang mga naaabot ng ating kabaro sa mga proyektong tulad ng gender-responsive economic actions for the transformation of women o great women. Siyasatin ang guidelines at policies ng mga sustainable livelihood programs ng DSWD. Sabi nga ng ating incoming secretary, nakakalimutan na ang D sa DSWD, which is development. Kailangang maging comprehensive, cohesive, at purposive ang ating mga programa upang mas holistic at responsive ang mga ito. Congress must exercise oversight to this end. Bantayan natin ang mga ganitong proyekto sa ating mga kanya-kanyang distrito. Nurture. Sa usapin ng sweldo, lalo na sa mga low-skill positions, hindi na tayo kailangang lumayo pa. Mahigit na 60% ng 1.83 million OFWs noong 2021 ay ating mga kabaro ayon sa Philippine Statistics Authority. Tinuturing natin silang bayani, and so we must ensure that our OFWs, particularly our domestic workers, are safe, healthy, and treated well in foreign lands. Let us call on our kabaro, Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Toots Ople, to assure the Filipino nation that the government is determined in this regard. Let us come up with meaningful programs that capacitate and strengthen our OFW families, like retooling and acquisition of special skills or technical know-how so that they do not have to be domestic workers. Encourage them to participate in agricultural programs for food security. Enhance their financial literacy and investment skills. Provide them with pensions and retirement benefits. Their sacrifice must not become missed opportunities. Innovate. While gender roles continue to shift and change with more and more women working outside the homes, government must promote and support this development. It is incumbent upon us to strengthen our daycare centers, institutionalize family support programs, and create a new and inspired system. Palakasin ang Universal Healthcare Law at ang first 1,000 days program ng ating Department of Health. We must take an all-of-government approach to bridge the gap. It does take a village to raise a child, and we must create opportunities for them and inspire them to innovate. We need every able citizen to do his and her share in nation building, encourage and facilitate more women to join the labor force, be it in agriculture, industry, or services. Create opportunities for women to run businesses from their homes. Government must be proactive when policies that are not just amenable to businesses, but also to labor and the environment. The Filipina is co-captain of her family's ship. It is said in Proverbs 31:15-17, which says, "She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruits of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong." Colleagues, I ask all of you here to legislate, advance, nurture, and innovate. Let us celebrate the immeasurable contribution of the Filipina in our nation, the nanay who nurtured the next generation, the asawa who stands as partner to the success of her husband's career, the empowered and financially independent Filipina who actively contributed to the GDP of our nation. Mga kababaihan, sama-sama tulong-tulong, ibangon ang ating bayan. Maraming salamat po at isang makabuluhang buwan ng kababaihan sa ating lahat.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Mercado Revilla be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The speech of Representative Mercado Revilla is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Bai Dimple I. Mastura of the 1st District of Maguindanao and Cotabato City be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Thank you. Representative Mastura is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Greetings of peace. Madam Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege. Bago ko po simula ng aking talumpati, akin pong binibigyang pugay ang bawat babaeng narito sa plenaryo. Bigyan po natin ang ating mga sarili ng isang masigabong palakpakan. Palakpakan po natin ang lahat ng mga kababaihan po na andito po ngayon. Role of Muslim women in leadership and governance. Marahil, isa sa mga importanteng paksa o usapin na pinag-uusapan at patuloy na tinatalakay ay ang papel na ginagampanan ng mga kababaihan, partikular na ng mga kababaihang Muslim sa pumumuno at pamamahala. Sa mahabang panahon, namulat tayo ng ating mga pinuno ay ang mga kalalakihan. Noon, ang mga kababaihan ay hindi gaanong nakapagpapahayag ng kanilang saloobing politikal, lalo't higit sa Muslim Mindanao region. Madam Speaker, in southern Philippines, particularly in the Muslim regions, men predominantly rule almost every governmental unit from the barangay up to the provincial levels. Women are seldom seen holding the highest positions. Most often that not, we are seen in the sidelines of governance, with men taking the lead in most cases. Gayunpaman, ang krusada ng mga kababaihan sa kalakhang bahagi ng ating bansa upang magkaroon ng ligtas at pantay na espasyo sa lipunan. Maging ito man ay ukol sa usaping politikal. Nagpatuloy hanggang ngayon, sa katunayan malayo na ang ating narating, at bilang babaeng Muslim, ay personal kong nararamdaman ang pagtanggap ng lipunan sa mga babaeng leader bilang kanilang sandalan sa oras ng pangangailangan. Ang aking pakikilahok sa politika ang nagbigay sa akin ng oportunidad upang irepresenta ang boses, hindi lamang ang boses ng mga kababaihan, kundi pati ng bawat mamamayan sa aking distrito. Matanda, bata, babae, lalaki, naniniwala ako na ito rin ang krusada ng mga kapwa kong mga Muslim na babaeng mambabatas na naririto ngayon. Saludo po ako sa inyo. Madam Speaker, my dear colleagues, representation has always been very important. We need to show our sisters and daughters that they can strive to be anything their hearts desire. Kailangan nakakakita ang mga batang babae na mga babaeng pinuno. That is why I am proud to be a woman and a representative of the Lone District of Maguindanao and Cotabato City, because I know that I am setting the best example I can be by embracing my faith and my womanhood. And because I have been given the opportunity to represent women in my district, I feel the need to amplify women issues by putting forward legislations that would advance women agenda across countries, such as House Bill 05693, which seeks to declare the first day of February of every year as National Hijab Day, and to promote an understanding of the Muslim tradition of wearing a hijab. It is also puts high emphasis and hope to stop the discrimination against Muslim women and the negative perception of other people to Muslim women hijabis. This bill has been approved on third reading. Another bill approved on third reading is the House Bill 04479, or an act expanding the prohibited acts of discrimination against women on account of sex, amending for the purpose Presidential Decree number 442 as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines. Ang iba pang mga panukala para sa mga kababaihan na kasalukuyan nasa kani-kaniyang mga komite ay ang mga sumusunod. A proposal to define electronic violence against women and their children, providing protective measures and prescribing penalties for violations thereof. A measure clarifying the right of a legitimate child's right to use their mother's surname. A proposed measure to establish National Sex Offender Registry, and another proposed measure that provides compensation for stay-at-home spouses and homemakers. It is important for women to represent women. In my case, a Muslim woman who can use her personal experiences to propose relevant laws that promote the welfare and improve the lives not only of Muslim women but all women. Tunay nga namang nakalikha na tayo ng mga kababaihan ng espasyo sa ating lipunan. Kailangan ay patuloy nating isama sa lahat ng pag-uusap ang ating mga issue at huwag dapat makulong sa kahinaan ng kahapon. Tayo ay babae, matapang, hindi duwag, malakas, hindi mahina, matalino, hindi mangmang, may mahalagang papel na ginagampanan at hindi babae lamang. Once again, I am Congresswoman by Dimple Mastura, a daughter, a wife, a sister, a friend, and I am proud Muslim woman leader. Once again, Happy Women's Month. Mabuhay tayong mga kababaihan. Shukran and wasalam.
Majority Leader. Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Mastura be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The speech of Representative Mastura is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Divina Grace C.U. of the 1st District of Zamboanga del Sur be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Divina Grace Yu is recognized.
Madam Speaker, esteemed colleagues, imagine a baby gleefully crawling and turning over towards the edge of the bed. Her mother busy cleaning the room, but timely catches her just when she is about to fall. Picture a young boy coming home from school, and the moment his mother saw his face, instantly knows something is wrong. And moments later, the thermometer confirms that the boy has a high fever. These are just few manifestations that indeed mother knows what's best for her children. My gentleman colleagues, I bet you often wonder why your wife could feel when you come home from work frustrated or sad. That's what we call women's intuition. I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege to highlight the importance of women's health as we gear towards gender equality and inclusive society. Madam Speaker, while the mother takes extra care of the health of every member of her family, her personal health is her least priority, knowing that their meager earnings could not afford additional list of expenses. While the mother often examines the health conditions of every member of her family, she will hesitate to discuss her own discomforts, especially of the most sensitive parts of her body. According to the Global Brand magazine, the health of families and communities are no doubt tied to the health of women. The illness or death of a woman has serious and far-reaching consequences for the health of her children, family, and the community as a whole. Based on the 2022 International Agency Research on Cancer, the number one cancer disease is breast cancer, and the second most common female cancer is cervical cancer. Per foreign data, approximately 62% of women with breast cancer are diagnosed at an early stage, for which the 5-year survival rate is 99%. Only 6% are diagnosed at stage 4, for which the 5-year survival rate significantly drops to 27%. In the Philippines, the 10-year survival rate among Filipino women with breast cancer is estimated to be 57%, primarily because of late detection, low screening rate, inadequate access, and high cost of screening and treatment. This representation, taking paramount consideration on the health and welfare of women in the province of Zamboanga del Sur, has taken the initiative to establish the Center for Women's Health in Zamboanga del Sur Medical Center through the support of the provincial government of Zamboanga del Sur and the Office of Senator Bongo. This center is unique as it offers free services to women, thereby encouraging them to have regular pap smear tests, if possible, annual test of colposcopy, hysteroscopy, and mammogram with tomosynthesis. The Center for Women's Health in Zamboanga del Sur seeks to address this concern on a local level. We aim to provide an avenue for women to discuss freely their health conditions, thereby promoting early detection of gynecological and reproductive health problems without worrying for the additional expenses of mammograms, which ranges from 1,200 pesos to 5,000 pesos, and pap smear tests of about 500 pesos. These are already considered steep prices for Filipino women whose minimum daily wage ranges from 341 pesos to 570 pesos. With that, Madam Speaker, this representation would like to commend all local government units who have provided access to early detection of gynecological and reproductive health problems, and humbly and respectfully requests other LGUs to follow suit. After all, healthy women means happy families. Happy families means stronger government, and stronger government means progressive community. That's all, Madam Chair. Daghang salamat and happy Women's Month.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Yu be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. The speech of Representative Divina Grace Yu is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that Representative Maria Rene A. and Lourdes G. Matibag of the 1st District of Laguna be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Representative Matibag is recognized.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, and my fellow women legislators, my allies in the House of Representatives. I speak to you on a matter of personal and collective privilege to shed light on the gender-based violence and harassment that is still affecting Filipino women in workplaces to this day. Women all over the country suffer from gender-based violence and harassment, especially in the workplace, which is defined as violence and harassment directed at persons because of their sex or gender, or affecting persons of a particular sex or gender disproportionately and include sexual harassment. Acts of gender-based violence and harassment include making gender-related comments about a person's appearance or mannerisms, which is most of the time end in bullying, and treating a person unfairly and badly because they don't fit stereotypical gender roles. Hanggang ngayon, napakarami pa rin sa ating mga kapwa kababaihan ang nakararanas ng ganitong uri ng kaharahasan at panliligalig sa kani-kanilang mga trabaho. Sa halip na sila ay mapayapang makapaghanap buhay para sa ikauunlad ng kanilang mga sarili at mga pamilya, nabubulabog ang katahimikan, gayon din ang seguridad ng kanilang buhay. Ang gender-based violence and harassment ay nangyayari sa lahat ng uri ng trabaho. Sa ating mga manininda, mga pulis, mga guro, mga call center agent, mga doktor, wala sa uri, posisyon, pribado man o pampublikong trabaho, wala itong pinipili at kinikilalang biktima. Lalong-lalo na sa panahon ngayon, napakahalaga ng pagkakaroon ng trabaho upang matustusan ang pinansyal na pangangailangan ng bawat pamilya. Sa sipag at tiyaga ng mga kababaihan, nararapat lamang na ating ibigay ang isang magandang work environment at gawin itong safe space upang kanilang magampanan ang kanilang trabaho ng walang takot at pangamba dulot ng gender-related violence and harassment. Dagdag pa rito ang mga harassment sa online, community, tulad ng cyberbullying at paninirang puri sa mga kababaihan, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga pregnant women. Ang kawalan ng pagpapahalaga at paggalang sa mga kababaihan ay nangyayari pa rin hanggang ngayon. Bilang Lagunanay, nanay na taga Laguna, at bilang isang mga nagsusulong sa karapatan at pag-angat ng kalidad ng pamumuhay ng bawat kababaihan, lubos kong ikanalulungkot ang realidad na ito. There is simply no place in this day and age for gender-based violence and harassment directed against women in our places. Kaya naman bilang Lagunanay, ng aking mga kadistrito sa lungsod ng San Pedro, lalawigan ng Laguna, ako ay tumitindig kasama ng aking mga kapwa mambabatas mula sa hanay ng mga kababaihan upang labanan ang ganitong uri ng kaharahasan at panliligalig. First, we are pushing for the ratification of C-190 Convention, which will require our law enforcement agencies and other stakeholders to take concrete steps in establishing rules against gender-based violence and harassment in the workplace and in punishing violators. Several of my colleagues here in the House have already expressed their support for its ratification, and I would like to take this opportunity to gather the support of our August Chamber in committing to see this ratification through. Second, as Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Women and Gender Equality and as Chairperson of the Subcommittee on Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children, I am reiterating my commitment to study and tackle with expediency legislation that will further the cause of my fellow women in the fight against gender-based women violence and harassment. As a working mother of 3 beautiful children, I feel empowered to take on the mission to uplift the lives of working Filipina in our country and all our women heroes who are braving the work in foreign lands. As women empowering women and children, together we will put an end to the shadow of gender-based violence and harassment in our workplaces. Through the hard work of my fellow women lawmakers, with the support of the gentlemen at the House of Representatives, we can make a difference through legislation. This is where we can make monumental and institutional changes that can permanently change the life of every woman. We can make the difference. We can be the solution. Through our unity, we can be their hope and salvation. Let me remind each and every one of us here today that the way of our actions are not just for every woman in workplace, but ultimately for our dearest children. Let us change the existing landscape. Let us change the prevailing injustice in workplace. Let us build a peaceful, just, and safe space for our children. Their future life depends on us. Kaya naman, ang ating panawagan, gender-based violence and harassment in the workplace, wakasan na. Tayo ay magsama-sama at magtulungan upang ating makamit ang magandang bukas para sa matibay at matatag na mga kababaihan at kabataan. Maraming salamat po and Happy Women's International to one and all.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the speech of Representative Yu be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The speech of Representative Matibag is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to avail of the privilege hour, I move that we close the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The privilege hour is hereby closed. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, may we acknowledge the presence of former Congressman and now Mayor of Maykawayan, Bulacan, the Honorable Henry Villarica.
Welcome to the House of Representatives, our former colleague, former Congressman, and now Mayor Henry Villarica. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we suspend the session for a few minutes.
Session is suspended.
The session is resumed. The Majority Leader is recognized.
Madam Speaker, under the calendar of business for the day, I move that we consider House Bill number 4605 as contained in Committee Report number 316, submitted by the Committee on Revision of Laws, and may we direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 4605.
House Bill number 4605, an act providing for the right of married women to retain their maiden surnames, amending for the purpose Article 370 of Republic Act number 386, as amended, otherwise known as the New Civil Code of the Philippines.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Edward Vera Perez Maceda, Chairperson of the Committee on Revision of Laws, who is in Zoom to deliver his sponsorship speech on House Bill number 4605.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Honorable Edward Vera Perez Maceda, Chairperson of the Committee on Revision of Laws, is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker and Madam Majority Leader. First of all, I'd like to greet and to say that I am one with all the women legislators in the 19th Congress in celebration of Women's Month. And we are all very appreciative of what you do. We celebrate you, we thank you, and whatever the legislative arm of the government of which we are a part, the lower house, whatever output we have and whatever laws that redound to the benefit of the country and to our people are enacted, we wouldn't be able to do it without you. So I hope we can continue to work together to continue to produce effective laws that will benefit our motherland and most especially our brother and sister Filipinos. Kaya muli, sa mga kasamahan kong babaeng legislator, pati na rin yung mga babaeng empleyado dyan sa session hall, sa Congress, at lahat ng staff natin na babae sa Congress, happy Women's Month. That being said, allow me the honor to sponsor House Bill number 04605, or an act providing for the right of married women to retain their maiden surnames, amending for the purpose Article 370 of Republic Act number 386, otherwise known as the New Civil Code of the Philippines. Article 370 enumerates the following choices that a married woman may use. Number 1, her maiden first name and surname and add her husband's surname. Number 2, her maiden first name and her husband's surname. Number 3, her husband's full name but prefixing a word indicating that she is his wife, such as Mrs. However, most Filipino women are not aware that they have a choice to retain their maiden name. And this choice is given by case law, which forms part of the law of the land, and it has been more than 20 years since the Supreme Court first penned a decision in support of this. In the case of Yastin versus Shari's District Court, Zamboanga City, GR number 94986, February 23, 1995, the highest court of the land ruled that the use of the husband's surname during the marriage, after annulment of the marriage, and after the death of the husband is permissive and not obligatory. This means that the choice of which surname to adopt or retain is at the option of the woman. But can only infer such principle from such decision, hence the need to clearly put it in the law and institutionalizing it by clearly providing it under Article 370 of the New Civil Code as one of the choices. The court further discussed in said case that when a woman marries a man, she did not apply and or seek judicial authority to use her husband's name by putting the word Mrs. before her husband's full name or by adding her husband's surname to her maiden first name. The law grants her such right irregardless of judicial authority. Similarly, when the marriage ties or vinculum no longer exists, as in the case of the death of the husband or divorce, as authorized by the Muslim Code, the widow or divorcee need not seek judicial confirmation of the change of her civil status in order to revert to her maiden name. Also because, as the use of her former husband's name is merely optional and not obligatory. Subsequently, in March 9, 2010, the Supreme Court also said in the case of Remo versus Secretary of Foreign Affairs that the instances that the married woman may use the surname of the husband under Article 370 of the Civil Code is merely permissive and not obligatory because of the word may. The use of the marriage name has nothing to do with the bonds of marriage and does not affect the sanctity of the marriage, but rather the name attached to a person is more to establish lineage. These two cases, Madam Speaker, Madam Majority Leader, and my distinguished colleagues, only strengthen the equality clause of the Constitution, which occupies a very high place in the hierarchy of rights in the law of the land, and we are ruled by constitutional fiat. In the Constitution, the Bill of Rights occupies the highest position in that, if you put it in a triangle, in the law of the land. And Article 3, Section 1, the very first section of the Bill of Rights, is where the Equal Protection Clause is found. And it says that the law applies to everybody, regardless of sex or whether you're a man or a woman. So before I end, Madam Speaker and Madam Majority Leader and my dear colleagues, I'd also like to note that this same bill with the same wording was passed in the recent Congress without objection by a vote of 227 affirmative votes, 0 negative votes, and 0 abstentions. So in line with Women's History Month and in line with advocating for equal protection between men and women in our world, this humble representation as chairman of the Committee of Revision of Laws is seeking the full and unequivocal support of my colleagues in the 19th Congress for the swift and immediate passage of this bill. Thank you. And again, I am one with you in celebrating Women's Month and this all-women session, which is a tradition already in our Congress year by year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Edward Vera Perez Maceda, Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Ana Veloso Tuazon, Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Revision of Laws, to likewise sponsor the measure and deliver her sponsorship speech on House Bill number 4605.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Honorable Ana Victoria Veloso Tuazon, Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Revision of Laws, is recognized to deliver her sponsorship speech.
Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I have the honor and privilege to sponsor and present for your consideration and approval House Bill number 4605. At present, Article 370 of the new Civil Code gives a married woman the right to use the surname of her husband in 3 ways. First, with her maiden name and surname, to which she may add her husband's surname. Second, her maiden first name and her husband's surname. And third, her husband's full name, but prefixing a word indicating that she is his wife, such as Mrs. We wish to amend this provision by listing the option that is most often overlooked, a married woman's right to retain her maiden first name and surname. This simple expedient ought to emphasize to all public and private institutions alike the simple and self-evident recognition that a change of civil status does not require a change of surname. The Equal Protection Clause, as mentioned earlier, in Article 3, Section 1 of our Constitution, guarantees equality of all persons before the law. And in addition, Article 2, Section 14 declares the state policy recognizing the role of women in nation building, ensuring fundamental equality before the law of women and men. The eminent constitutionalist Father Joaquin Bernas has pointed out that while these provisions command the state to pass laws that positively promote equality or reduce existing inequalities, they do not repeal the inequalities found in the Civil Code and civil law jurisprudence. We are thus reminded that it is our task as legislators to give impetus to the removal through statute of existing gender inequalities that are not relevant to determining rights and duties. One such inequality is the situation that married women face in the absence of an express provision in the Civil Code, reminding authorities and laymen that despite a change of civil status, a married woman has the right to retain her maiden name. A married woman who has opted to retain her maiden name should not be compelled to adopt her husband's surname in her tax return just to avail of tax deductions for qualified dependents. Neither should she have to update the rest of her social welfare registrations to include her husband's surname just to claim deductions and applicable social welfare benefits that attach by reason of marriage and having qualified dependents. As previously pointed out, in the case of Remo versus Secretary of Foreign Affairs, when a woman marries, it is only her civil status that is changed, and that consistent with the principle that surname indicates descent, she may continue to use her maiden name upon marriage. Our public information and communication systems have evolved considerably over the past decades in a way that enables expedient tracking of updates to a data subject's sensitive personal information such as civil status. If our information systems can perfunctorily update a married man's change of status, it can certainly do the same for married women who opt to maintain or retain their maiden name. The simple amendment also seeks to rectify gender inequality in accordance with our treaty obligations under the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW, to which we are a state party, and which we consider part of the law of the land pursuant to Article 2, Section 2 of our Constitution. Article 16 of the Convention enjoins the Philippines to undertake all appropriate measures to eliminate discrimination against women in all matters relating to marriage and family relations, and in particular to ensure on a basis of equality of men and women the same personal rights as husband and wife, including the right to choose a family name, a profession, and an occupation. In addition, this amendment aligns with the Philippines' targets relative to its adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, particularly SDG Goal 5.1, which relates to ensuring that legal frameworks are in place to promote and enforce and monitor equality and non-discrimination, emphasizing the need for national legislation and support to comply with SDG Goal 5, promoting gender equality. In the Philippine Statistics Authority's 2022 SDG Progress Index, it was noted that we have regressed by 50% in complying with Target 5.2 on violence against women and children, and further regressed by 21% in complying with 5.3 on early marriage. These figures underscore the need to establish legal frameworks that protect and honor a woman's identity as she comes into her own, seasoned by time and experience. This simple expedient of spelling out her right to retain her maiden name following a change of civil status allows her to assert her identity. And it is one of the ways we can take charge of the way the world perceives us, as this perception is shaped by how we see ourselves. The proposed amendment is also consistent with legislation we have passed previously, such as the Women in Development and Nation Building Act, which removes gender bias in regulations and issuances, and the Magna Carta of Women on the equal rights of women and men in all matters relating to marriage and family relations. Yet, despite this legal framework, the Philippine Commission of Women had to pass Memorandum Circular number 2016-07, and fairly recently, the Transportation Office had to pass a memorandum to address the complaints and discriminatory practices that married women still face when they assert their right to use their maiden name. Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we need to spell out options in a way that laymen understand. In the case of Alanis III versus Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court emphasized that the state has the duty to actively modify what is in its power to modify to ensure that women are not discriminated. Article 370 of the Civil Code does not specifically grant a married woman the option to use her maiden name and surname, and it should be amended if only to make it explicit that a woman may invoke her right. Passing House Bill 4605 meets the twin objectives of providing equality between men and women before the law by allowing married women to retain their maiden name, and allowing married women to dispense with the need for legal recourse to tedious and expensive court proceedings to change their name once a change in factual or legal circumstances merit it. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes once said, "The life of the law has not been logic, it has been experience." In our overly articulated lives, many fail to grasp the import of what is left unsaid. The memos issued by the Philippine Commission on Women and the LTO make it abundantly clear, however, that we cannot leave to chance the enforcement and implementation of a woman's basic right to assert her identity following a change of civil status. We would not need this revision if enforcement were easy. Madam Speaker, in honor of the brave women whose courage and sacrifice have brought us to this point, I call on our distinguished colleagues to support the adoption of this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Happy Women's Month.
Thank you. Representative Ana Victoria Veloso Tuazon, Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Arlene Brosas of Gabriela Party List to likewise sponsor the measure and deliver a sponsorship speech on House Bill number 4605.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Honorable Arlene Brosas of Gabriela Party List is recognized to deliver her sponsorship speech.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to first of all greet all women a happy International Women's Month. This representation takes pride in sponsoring this bill as the world celebrates and recognizes today the various contributions of women in different fields. Under the 1987 Philippine Constitution, the state mandated to ensure equality between women and men. As a signatory to the UN Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, part of the Philippines' mandate is to ensure that there is no discrimination against women and their marriage relations, including ensuring that a woman has the right to choose her family name. Under the new Civil Code, women can use the surname of her husband upon their marriage. In particular, a married woman may use her husband's surname, hyphenate her maiden surname with her husband's, or use the full name of husband with a prefix indicating that she is the wife. Jurisprudence has recognized that the use of the word may means that the enumeration in Article 370 is only permissive and not mandatory. This enumeration does not hinder a married woman to retain her maiden surname. However, the absence of an explicit legislation allowing the continued use of a woman's surname even after marriage, as well as Philippine tradition, and the patriarchal view on marriage in society has given the impression that upon marriage, women have no choice but to adopt the surname of their husbands. In a memorandum circular issued by the PCW, the Philippine Commission on Women, in 2016, they noted that they have received many complaints from different individuals of married women's applications being rejected for not using their husband's surname. Such discrimination has tainted women's right to choose their family name. House Bill number 4605 is a step to recognizing that even with a change of civil status, women can still retain their maiden surname, and no government agency should force them to use a different surname just because they are married. Women have the right to choose their family name. Consequently, should her surname be changed to that of her husband's upon marriage, she should also have the right to revert to her maiden surname. No woman should be forced to retain her husband's surname when their relationship is already permanently soured, and the use of it becomes a constant reminder of their failed relationship. The use of the husband's surname is rooted from our patriarchal history and culture, where the wife is considered as a husband's possession. This form of discrimination against women must end. Let us pass House Bill 4605 now. Maraming salamat, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Arlene Brosas, Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker,
What is the pleasure of the lady from Cebu, the Honorable Salimbangon?
Madam Speaker, I would like to manifest my support for the approval of House Bill number 4605. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The manifestation of Representative Salimbangon is duly noted. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 4605.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The consideration of House Bill number 4605 is hereby suspended. The Majority Leader is recognized.
Madam Speaker, may we acknowledge the guests of Honorable Peter B. Miguel of the 2nd District of South Cotabato. Guests from the 2nd District of South Cotabato, City Councilor Handil D.R. Cadelino Cobilo, Spinks Company CEO Ferdinand Gotan, and Miss Michelle Pabilona.
To the guests of Honorable Peter Miguel, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we suspend the session for a few minutes.
The session is suspended.
The session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I now move that we consider House Resolution number 802 as contained in Committee Report number 345 and request the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the measure.
House Resolution number 802, resolution congratulating and commending Ms. Dali Earnshaw de Leon for winning Best Supporting Actress in Sweden's Gold Bag Awards Los Angeles Film Critics Association Awards, and 2022 North Dakota Film Society Awards, and for being the first Filipino nominated as Best Supporting Actress in the 2022 Golden Globe Awards for her role in the film Triangle of Sadness.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Rosana Ria Vergara of the 3rd District of Nueva Ecija to sponsor the measure.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Honorable Rosana Ria Vergara is recognized.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of Honorable Rosana Vergara, I would like to stand, of course, for House Resolution number 802 as part of the author of this House Resolution. Madam Speaker, as one of the authors of House Resolution number 802 and as a member of the Special Committee on Creative Industry and Performing Arts chaired by the Honorable Christopher V.P. de Venecia, I earnestly seek for the adoption of House Resolution number 802. Madam Speaker and Majority Floor Leader, thank you so much.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate the sponsor, I move that we close the period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to terminate the period of sponsorship and debate. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The period of sponsorship and debate is hereby terminated. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I now move that we open the period of amendments.
There is a motion to open the period of amendments. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The period of amendments is hereby open.
Madam Speaker, there being no committee amendments, I move that we proceed to individual amendments.
There is a motion to open the period of amendments. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The period of amendments is hereby open.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Jocelyn C. Lim Kay Chong of the 1st District of Negros Oriental for her individual amendments.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Madam Speaker, for the first amendment, after the 4th whereas clause, I move to insert a new whereas clause to read as follows. Whereas Ms. De Leon was also nominated as Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture at the 80th Golden Globe Awards held on 10 January 2023 in California, USA, and Best Actress in a Supporting Role at the 76th BAFTA Award held on 19 February 2023 at London, United Kingdom.
What does the sponsor say?
Madam Speaker, we accept the amendment.
What does the House say?
Madam Speaker, we move to approve the amendment.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The amendment is approved.
Madam Speaker, for the next amendment, I move that we amend the 7th whereas clause to read as follows. Whereas the nomination makes Ms. De Leon the first Filipino to be nominated for a Golden Globe and a BAFTA in the above-mentioned categories.
What does the sponsor say?
Madam Speaker, we accept the amendment.
What does the House say?
Madam Speaker, we move to approve the amendment.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The amendment is approved. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Jani Z. Salimbangon of the 4th District of Cebu for her individual amendments.
The lady from Cebu, Honorable Janice Salimbangon, is recognized.
Madam Speaker, for the next amendment, I move to amend the resolutory clause to read as follows. Resolved by the House of Representatives to congratulate and commend Ms. Dali Ershow de Leon for winning Best Supporting Actress in Sweden's Gold Badge Awards, Los Angeles Film Critics Association Awards, and 2022 North Dakota Film Society Awards, and for being the first Filipino nominated as Best Supporting Actress in the 2022 Golden Globe Awards and the 2022 British Academy Film Awards for her role in the film The Triangle of Sadness.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept the amendment, Madam Speaker.
What does the House say?
Madam Speaker, we move that we approve the said amendment.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The amendment is approved.
Lastly, Madam Speaker, I move to amend the title of the resolution to read as follows. Resolution congratulating and commending Ms. Dali Ershow de Leon for winning the Best Supporting Actress in Sweden's Gold Badge Awards, Los Angeles Film Critics Association Awards, and 2022 North Dakota Film Society Awards, and for being the first Filipino nominated as Best Supporting Actress in the 2022 Golden Globe Awards and the 2022 British Academy Film Awards for her role in the film Triangle of Sadness.
What does the sponsor say?
Madam Speaker, we accept.
What does the House say?
Madam Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The amendment is approved. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to introduce individual amendments, I move that we close the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The period of amendments is hereby closed. Majority Leader. Session is suspended. Session resumed.
Madam Speaker.
What is the pleasure of the lady from the BH party list, Representative Bernadette BH Herrera?
Madam Speaker, before we adopt House Resolution number 802, and with the permission of the principal authors of the measure, I move that all lady legislators of the House be made as co-authors of House Resolution number 802.
Is there any objection to the motion? The chair hears none. All lady legislators are hereby made co-authors of House Resolution number 802.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the adoption of House Resolution number 802 as amended.
There is a motion to adopt House Resolution number 802. All those in favor say aye. All those against say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution number 802 is hereby adopted as amended. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we consider House Resolution number 787 and request the Secretary General to read the title of the measure. I so move, Madam Speaker.
Session suspended.
Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we consider House Resolution. Is this Resolution number 787 and request the Secretary General to read the title of the measure. I so move, Madam Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Resolution number 787.
House Resolution number 787, resolution expressing the profound condolences of the House of Representatives on the passing of Ms. Luwalhati Bautista.
Madam Speaker.
What is the pleasure of the lady from OFW Party List, the Honorable Magsino?
Madam Speaker, with the permission of the principal authors of the said resolution, I move that all lady legislators of this House be made co-authors of House Resolution number 787. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. All lady legislators are hereby made co-authors of House Resolution number 787. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we adopt House Resolution number 787.
There is a motion to adopt House Resolution number 787. All those in favor say aye, and all those against say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution number 787 is hereby adopted. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, may we acknowledge the presence of members of the family of Ms. Luwalhati Bautista, namely Ms. Marilag Bautista de Jesus, sister, and Ms. Clarice de Jesus, niece.
To the guests of the family, to the guests of the Honorable Bautista, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, move that we suspend the session for a few minutes.
Session is suspended. May we please ask the family members of the late Luwalhati Bautista to come forward so that the lady legislators may take a photo with the family members considering the adoption of the House resolution. Thank you.
Tara po.
Madam Speaker, there being no other items in the agenda, I move... Ay, sorry.
Celebrating Women's Month is not only the job of women, but more importantly, of everyone. That is what letters W and E, or We for Gender Equality and Inclusive Society, stand for. Women and everyone must ensure that agencies, mechanisms, institutions, private partners, and duty bearers open up opportunities for women. Simply put, the day the state of our nation is a whole lot better is the day our women as a whole better their lot through these opportunities. To date, our Gender Development Index value is not yet at the ideal ratio of 1. It is at 0.990. And compared to 2021, closing the gap between women and men in our country by 0.004 is almost imperceptible. In terms of ranking, countries that used to trail us in the Human Development Index achievements have now overtaken us. Next year, the Magna Carta of Women will reach its milestone of 15 years. So it is time we revisit its implementation. We, women, and everyone need to hold the line because our right for gender equality today is for a better and more inclusive tomorrow. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we suspend the session for a few minutes.
the titles of the session is resumed. Majority Leader is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move that we take up additional references of business and direct the Secretary General to read the titles and bills and resolution, as well as communication and committee reports.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read the additional reference of business committee reports.
Additional reference of business committee reports. Committee report number 437, submitted by the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms and the Committee on Appropriations on House Bill number 7576, and Committee report number 438, submitted by the Committee on Public Works and Highways and the Committee on Appropriations on House Bill number 7577.
To the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, there being no other items in the agenda, I move that we adjourn the session until tomorrow, Tuesday, March 14, 2023 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
There is a motion to adjourn. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The session is adjourned until tomorrow, Tuesday, March 14, 2023 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.